Chapter 3 Dread. There was only 1 hour left in the school day. Trig doubled back to his locker between classes and retrieved his economics textbook. He was starting to feel apprehensive. Trig had gone for a full week without a strange or unusual event happening at school. For all other students, this was nothing noteworthy, but Trig was different. Strange and unusual things tended to happen around him, regardless of whether or not he sought them out. Tenna's appearance at the Overlook was the first odd occurrence in more than a week, and now that the shock had worn off, Trig was on his guard for the next one. Lost in nervous thought, Trig spotted someone familiar. Londa, the pretty Valdemar girl who helped him in history class, departed one of the astrogeography classrooms and started walking in Trig's direction. When Londa came his way, Trig and several non-Valdemar classmates instinctively moved aside, clearing a path through the middle of the hall. As Londa drew level and walked past Trig, something happened. Trig's nostrils stung, and his stomach heaved as he was suddenly overwhelmed by the smell of smoke. Trig retched, stepping to one side and putting his hand on the wall to steady himself. Trig did not vomit, but he felt sick. He looked around. Londa was still walking away, book bag under her arm. What Trig found alarming, though, was that none of the students were reacting to her in any way. Students and staff carried on as though nothing was wrong, seemingly unaware of the fact that Londa smelled like a wildfire. None of this made sense. Trig knew, through both gossip and occasionally getting close to her, that Londa was one of the few girls who wore perfume to school on a daily basis. She would be the first to know if something smelled off. He turned around and started walking toward Londa. Moving at a faster pace, Trig started to catch up with her, and then he felt it. As he drew near to Londa, Trig felt an overwhelming sensation of dread. Every nerve in his body screamed at him, saying that something terrible was about to happen. Something bad was going to happen to Londa. "Oh, not again," Trig cursed. It seemed he would be caught up in something strange after all. He raised his voice. "Hey, Londa!" She heard him and turned around. Several other students and a teacher heard the yell and paused to watch. Londa went pale when she realized Trig was talking to her. "Hey, where are you going?" Trig asked. "Chemistry class," Londa squeaked. "What's the matter?" The expression on Londa's face gave away her feelings. She was terrified of Trig and already working up the courage to scream for help. That sense of dread inside of Trig was rapidly turning into a feeling of impending doom. He had no idea what was about to happen. He only knew that this would be his only chance to get Londa away from whatever or whoever was going to hurt her. "Don't go," Trig said. "Don't go to class. Can you skip?" Londa looked scandalized. Her glasses flashed as she tilted her head in confusion. "What? Are you kidding?" she gasped. "I'm not a delinquent. I can't just skip classes." "Please." Trig clasped his hands, his voice shaking. He was desperate. You helped me earlier. Now let me help you. You've got to come with me now." Londa started to back away. "Hey, you know I'm Valdemar, right?" Londa said. "You can't be my Aethera or anything like that." Trig resisted the urge to say something profane. "Are you kidding me?" he thought to himself. "She thinks this is a stupid Valdemar courtship thing? How dumb is this girl?" He was rapidly losing patience, and spat out the first words that came into his mind. "This isn't anything like that," he snapped. "You need to come with me, or—" But Trig never finished his sentence. A teacher clasped his hand around Trig's shoulder and held him tight. "Am I mishearing things? Or did I just hear the first half of a threat? Said Mr. Hanslet. Let's take a walk, Shepminter. Trig was pulled away from the scene, shouting at Londa until she was out of sight. Don't go to chemistry class! Something bad's gonna happen if you do! About 10 minutes later, Trig was in the headmaster's office. Mr. Lugmere, a resplendent-looking Valdemar, sat behind his desk, pinching his nose in irritation. Why is it that whenever something happens, it's always either you specifically or another Birkin on the scene? Mr. Lugmere began. Will you stop fidgeting, Shepminter? Hold still and face me. Trig could not hold still. He was hyper-aware of the fact that the final classes of the day were starting. That whatever horrible occurrence he was dreading was now only minutes away. He wanted to move. Can I change seats? Trig asked. That one there, away from the window? Trig pointed at a chair across the office. No, stay where you are and listen to me, Mr. Lugmere snapped. Threatening your fellow students is intolerable. The way you behave towards Miss Thoso is unbecoming of an Eddleton secondary student. I have half a mind to suspend you right now. We're going to call your guardian and see what she has to say. The headmaster never finished his sentence. At that very moment, the window behind Trig shattered, spraying glass into the room. Trig threw himself forward as a loud blast echoed through the hallways. Hitting the floor, Mr. Lugmere shouted in alarm as the outside wall shifted and cracked. Trig ran his hands along the back of his neck, checking for blood. Then he stood up and looked around. He peered out the gap in the wall where the window used to be. About 40 meters away, in another wing of the school, the chemistry classroom was reduced to rubble. Wreckage and debris was strewn all over the school grounds. Acrid black smoke billowed into the sky. High above it all, ribbons of green and purple light danced across the sky. The daytime aurora billowed and danced across the sky for a few more minutes, then started to fade away, slipping out of view until the afternoon sky was blue once more.